DJ Waldo. That's because I've spent the time building that community. And the same thing, you want to talk about social media, go to Jason.
Could you bring up Scott Monty's Twitter page real quick?
Yeah.
So Scott Monty is the social media director for Ford, one of the 10 biggest companies in the world. And I think he shows a really good way that you can do this.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. You see how he does, he's got his picture, and then he's got the Ford logo in the bottom right. That's his avatar.
And he bleeds Ford blue. Doesn't matter what you say to him, somehow it'll be about Ford. And so, I mean, he lives that brand.
Yeah.
So it's him, and people identify with him personally, but they also identify with the company at the same time.
And so I haven't gotten to the engaged part yet, but as I just looked at the stream, there's something about this that jumps out at me that I would respond to right away. Sunset in Ann Arbor. So it looks like he was in Michigan, at least as of last night. So this would be a perfect opportunity for me to say, hey, you're in Ann Arbor, say hi to Brady Hoke for me, or whatever. Okay, that's a really good example. Okay. So this is the engage part. This is where, as a community manager or whatever your title is, if you're engaging in social media in some way, you have to have conversations with people. Here's a conversation. So there's another social media guy named Peter Shankman. And so it's hard to see here. It says about 4 hours ago, so I captured these different images. But the one at the top left, I literally think this was at about 3 or 4 in the morning. And this was probably about a year ago, and our daughter was about 3 months old. And so for whatever reason, I was wide awake. Go figure. And so this is what Peter Shankman wrote. Dear email service provider, having an emergency pager means respond immediately when there's an emergency. Okay, so he shoots this out to his entire network, 100,000, whatever. As Joyce said earlier, of course, this is 3 in the morning, so there's a portion of those people that are seeing it. But even if there's a couple hundred that see it, that's quite a few. So this is now I've met Peter Shankman before, so that's why I was able to have a little bit more of a casual response to him. And if you know me, that's a little bit of my humor too. If you see the second one, I said the ESP you work with gave you an emergency number. I didn't know they were used in the email word. So I'm trying to use a little bit of humor to engage with him. Now, be very clear, we're not his email service provider. He uses somebody else. I know that. We've had conversations before. So this was my attempt at sort of being there before the sale, soft selling, offering to help. In the back of my mind, would I love him to be a Blue Sky Factory client? Heck yeah. That's a big list. That's big money for us. But if you notice in this, I'm not necessarily selling. And what you don't see is his exchange back to me. And then I respond with, in all seriousness, we don't do your email. Is there any way I can help? And so what you don't see is the private messages that went back and forth. And he said, geez, I really appreciate you offering to help. Sounds like we've got everything resolved. But this was me infusing myself into a conversation that wasn't really about me, but it was about my industry. And I'm not suggesting that you need to be up at 3 in the morning and checking to see what people are talking about, but this is an example of how you can do that. Another one, this was actually from Blog World. So somebody wrote, looks like it's Justin Goldsboro?
Yeah, Justin Goldsboro.
Yeah, so he wrote this post just a couple days ago. It's the 77 aha moments from Blog World, New York. And you can see all the comments. And the one that I highlighted with this red box here, this is Rick going in there and responding. And kind of what Jason said as example with Maker's Mark earlier, he didn't have this whole big, long response. What did he say? Thank you for a great wrap-up post, Justin. He's acknowledging it. He's engaging. Now, what does that mean for Justin? Think about Justin, and I'm assuming you guys know each other and are friends.
Barely.
Okay, somewhat, right? And Justin responds not that long ago, and so now all of a sudden they're having a conversation on Justin's page. It's showing that Rick's paying attention, he's listening, and he's responding to things that are happening in the time with him. And you can also see here, by the way, how Rick does his profile picture. So the Blog World with Rick's face on it. So I think this is a great example of how to engage. If people are talking about you in blog posts, go and respond. It doesn't have to be anything long, but just an acknowledgement that you saw what they wrote. So, Jason talked about how to respond to detractors. This is a true story. And Jason, I think you'll appreciate what she actually wrote. Okay. Right? So this was on our Facebook wall. Okay? This was a client who wrote, I finished the entire newsletter. When I hit save, your server experienced an error, made me lose the entire thing. Thanks a lot. This is where sentiment testing doesn't work out so well because there's a little bit of sarcasm there. That could be seen as a positive thing. She's thanking us, right? Is there any way to give me those 2 hours of my life back? And the 2 more it's going to take to get everything else ready again. So we saw this. It's, for the most part, me running our social media. We have a couple alerts set up, and we can show you how to do this later. And I saw this. A couple of the people on our team saw this, and the reaction was, oh my God, what do we do? How do you respond to this? So I'm curious. How would you respond to this? You see this on your Facebook wall. Somebody just said, CES, I just tried to register for your show, and your gosh darn system's broken again. I can't register, and I hate you, and you suck, and I'm never coming back. What do you do?
Call us and scream.
Honestly, the first thing I'd probably do is go into your server, go and see if there's any way. Well, she might thought she had lost it, but maybe it was captured in some sort of
Great.
backup. And if you can say, well, I'm sorry you had this experience, but because of some fail safes that we have, here's your information.
Exactly. So that's this is the first thing. I'm going to share with you in a minute, obviously, how we respond to this. But that's the first thing I think is exactly right. I want to go back and have, this is the whole expert thing. I want to go back and know who in my company I can go to and find out, did we have an issue? Is this our fault? Did we screw up? And if we did screw up, can we fix it for her? Right? Because that's what she's asking for. She's pissed off. But if we could fix it for her, she'd be less angry. So I think that's the first thing. This is where, you talk about an agency. Well, you imagine if an agency's seeing this. What does the agency have to do? They've got to contact their main contact at your company, and you may not be there. Maybe you're on vacation, and all of a sudden they don't know how to respond. They don't know anything about the server issues or your application or anything. So that's the first thing, for sure. Figure out if you can fix the problem. What else? What else would you do next? And you also kind of indicated, acknowledge, say sorry. Sorry this happened.
You got to acknowledge the mistake or the problem. I mean, that's the worst thing I think anybody can attest to is if you try to shuck and jive and say, well, it might not be our fault. Don't even post that until you know definitively, because it's going to be like, okay, here we go again. Here's another excuse. Here's another CYA. Here's another trying to pin it on somebody else. If you made a mistake or there's a problem, just own it, and that'll diffuse.
I would go a step further than that, because you also don't have all the facts.
Right.
Apologize for the situation,
Exactly.
not for something you did or didn't do. I'm sorry this happened. I'm on it. Let me figure out what we can do to help.
And I would do it via phone call versus email and or texting or whatever. Because that personal touch, for them to hear in your tone, man, we are going to be doing whatever
In
we
an
can.
ideal world, yes, but if she's posting this publicly to everybody, respond publicly.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good point.
and you can also do both.
Yeah.
You could pick up the phone and call, and you can also respond. And you have to, I think that's a good point, you have to respond publicly because otherwise that's out there.
And you can say, I'm calling you publicly.
Mhm.
So sorry this happened to you, calling you now.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay, so you want to hear what really happened?
Mhm.
Okay. So first, I want you to notice this. This was May 20, so this is last week. May 29, 3:29 p.m. So there's a lot of stuff up here, so I'm going to kind of read through some of it. You can see at the very top, that's me again. So you know, responding personally. I could have responded as Blue Sky Factory, but I chose to respond personally. The first thing I want you to look at that box, 3:45. So 16 minutes after she commented, right? Pretty quick. Now you have to be careful with this stuff though, because you want to respond quickly, but as Jason said, you want to have the right information too. So this is what I wrote. Emily, DJ here from Blue Sky Factory. Very sorry this happened. Actually, before you even, I know everybody's reading it right now, so I can't stop you. But I did do exactly what you said first. Now remember, I work remotely, so most of my office is in Baltimore. I'm in Salt Lake City. I got an IM right away, and I said, are we having issues? I need to know right away. Has something happened recently that I need to know about? Answer came, and I was able to talk directly with our developer. Nothing's wrong. not our fault, nothing we did. Second question was, can we fix it? And they said maybe. And the third question was to go to their client service manager who handles this account and say, I need you to know this is happening right now. I'm going to respond to it, but I need you to be ready in case you need to make that phone call. So, and this is real, right? This is 16 minutes later. I just checked with our team and our logs do not show any server errors. I realize that does not solve your problem. What were you working on when the connection error occurred? I'd be happy to connect with our support team, email address or phone or live chat, if you'd like to see if there's any other options. So kind of what Jason said, I'm not saying that I'm not promising that I can fix it. I'm saying there's a possibility that we have this. I'm also doing something I think that is unique here is I'm asking a question back to her. So can you give us some more information? So I'm engaging with her and hopefully starting a dialogue. Now, you'll notice she didn't respond till the next day. Part of this also could be that it's 3:45, so that was my time zone and mountain time. But you can see her first response was, thank you for your prompt response. She's not happy. She's not, problem isn't resolved, but she thanked me right away and said, thank you. And this is public. Remember this, if you go to facebook.com/blueskyfactory, you'll see this live on our page right now. Hopefully the IT folks can retrieve it today. Thanks again. Now, here's the key. Remember, I'm one person, can't do all this, can't be there every time. Somebody might be commenting on our Facebook wall right now I don't know about. The third post down there is from Christopher Penn, who also works at Blue Sky Factory, and he responds a little bit differently. And you can't see all of it, but he says, Chris Penn from Blue Sky Factory is identifying himself, and he's giving a suggestion of one, this is what I do. I work with Blue Sky Factory, but I also use the application. This is what I do. And then I won't read all of these, but you can see the conversation happening. And this is Michelle, by the way, who was her client service manager, who did call her. Called earlier today. And we also, as a company, exchange this information back and forth through email. And so this is, talking about educating your team on how to do this stuff, or other people. This is a great email. If this happens at your company, send this to everybody. Say, if this happens again, this is how we handled it. And so I kind of showed that as an example of something that literally happened last week and how you can handle it. The other way to be there before the sales